All right, Jackie, I've got 3 o'clock Eastern. Is it okay if I go ahead and get this party started officially?
Let's roll.
All right, awesome. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon, I should say. And if you're watching the recording, I hope you're having a good day no matter when and where you are, because we are here to talk about how to increase revenue with a marketing plan. Love marketing plans, one of my favorite topics. And you all are in for a treat because we got an expert on that topic here joining us today. So welcome. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Steven. I'm over here at Bloomerang, and I'll be moderating today's discussion as always. And just a couple of quick housekeeping items. I just want to let everyone know that we are recording this presentation, and we'll be sending out the slides as well as the recording later on this afternoon. So if you have to leave early, or maybe you just want to review the content or maybe share it with a friend or a colleague, you will be able to do that. Just look for an email from me later on today with all those goodies. We'll get those in your hands for sure. But most importantly, we love for these sessions to be interactive. So feel free to ask questions and comments along the way. There's a chat box and a Q&A box. You can use both of those. We would love to hear from you. We're going to try to save a little bit of time at the end for Q&A, but ask questions along the way. Say hi now, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, what your organization does, because we would love to hear from you. We're also keep an eye on the Twitter feed if you want to send us a tweet. But bottom line, don't be shy. Don't sit on those hands. We would love to hear from you over the next hour or so. And if this is your first Bloomerang webinar, just want to say a special welcome to all you first timers. We do these webinars just about every Thursday throughout the year, literally like 49 or 50 sessions during the year. We love doing it. But if you've never heard of Bloomerang, besides the webinars, we are first and foremost a provider of donor management software. That's what Bloomerang is. So check that out if you're in the market or maybe just curious about us. We're pretty easy to find online, and you can see all kinds of videos and screenshots and awesome things on our website to learn more about us. But don't do that right now because dang, I am so excited for this session. This one has been on my calendar for many weeks and months, and I've had it circled because this is such an important topic. I'm kind of a marketing geek myself, but we have a true expert joining us from beautiful Milwaukee. We were just talking about Milwaukee, so shout out to Milwaukee. Jackie from Yodel Pop is here. Jackie, how's it going? You doing okay?
Going great. So happy to be here.
Yeah, this is awesome. I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule because you're a busy person. You're running this agency, Yodel Pop. By the way, check them out. They do really awesome work. If you need help in digital marketing, website branding, SEO, they've got a lot of really awesome free resources on their website, and they do really good work. We actually have some mutual clients, so I can vouch for their work. So check her out. Awesome team over there. She's also super involved in the nonprofit community up in Milwaukee, which I also appreciate. And wow, couple of fun facts, has written for The Onion and also plays upright bass, and maybe she'll break out the bass for us. I don't know if you're going to do that, Jackie, but I'm not going to put you on the spot. I know you got some awesome information for us, but thank you for doing this, and I don't want to take up any more time away from you. So I'm going to stop sharing my slides here, and I'll let you bring up your presentation, see if it works.
Good. Let me get my screen share going here.
It's always the fun part.
Yeah, exactly. Pressure, no pressure at all. There's my share, and
there it goes.
The slideshow mode, so you can see maximum slide size here. Good.
Take it away.
Okay, great. I'm so happy to be here. I love Bloomerang, and as Steven said, we have clients who have been very happy with Bloomerang. So yeah, I'm super thrilled, and so great to see all of you in the chat. All those different, such a great variety of missions and locations. And I know we're going to have a lot to talk about, so I'm going to dive right in. Today, we're talking about how to increase your nonprofit's revenue by having a marketing plan, whether you don't have a marketing plan now or whether it needs to be refreshed. I think you'll find a lot of great information. This is based on what's worked for us working with nonprofits over many years. A little bit about myself. Steven already kind of got into my bio, so I think I would just add that I am a former nonprofit communications director for a national nonprofit. And that's what led me to found Yodel Pop with my business partner, Camille Weiner. Personally, this is kind of my personal mission here, to help you achieve growth through communications integrity. That's a little bit about me. I won't be bringing out my base today. I don't have time. Usually it's right here actually in my office with me, but it's downstairs because I had practice last night. So a little bit about YodelPop. We partner with organizations to increase reach and revenue with marketing because we share in the vision to build a better world. We focus on world-class technology and we have experience putting it to work for nonprofits. And we are a proud Bloomerang partner agency. I want to tell you a little bit about today's session, but first, I would like to hear, I really appreciate all of you who wrote into the chat, just kind of saying hello, where you're from. And I would love to hear what role you play at your organization. So if you can take a second in the chat, are you in development? Are you in marketing? Are you an executive, like a CEO or executive director? Just those two things. That'll help me kind of calibrate my message. I see lots of different things: development, communications, executive director, marketing, philanthropy, outreach. Okay, so it looks like we have we have a board treasurer, COO, really pretty wide variety of different roles. And I think every single one of you is going to be able to identify and use this information. How to increase reach and revenue with a nonprofit marketing plan. The way we're going to structure the conversation today is starting out why you need to create a marketing plan, what the rationale is, or refresh the one that you have. We'll look at some data behind why it's important to do that. We'll talk about establishing goals, which is really the foundation of creating a successful marketing plan. How do you do it? What are good goals for your marketing? Creating personas. We'll take a second to dive into the persona process, just because that's a really key foundational part of your marketing plan. And if you haven't done it, I'll give you some information about how to get started, or maybe how to tweak the personas that you've created. And then finally, creating a game plan. What does that look like? What are the basic elements that should go into your marketing plan? You'll hear me talk about game plan and marketing plan in a kind of interchangeable way. Because what we do with nonprofits is we start an engagement. Typically, we're going to plan out a marketing plan within the first couple of months of forming that relationship with an organization. And that game plan is going to have all the foundations of the work spelled out. Then we're going to take the next year to implement that marketing plan. So I'll say game plan, I'll say marketing plan. Let's dive in. So why do you need a marketing plan? Well, if you're here, it's probably because you would like to increase revenue for your organization. So that's a big one. So the benefits of creating a marketing strategy ahead of diving into tactics, like, are we going to do an e-newsletter? Are we going to do, some social media advertising? The importance of having that plan really becomes clear because you can see that you're going to be able to set and achieve goals to support the organization's budget. That's why we do this workshop, because we found that, people in marketing roles at organizations sometimes don't really have that connection with the organization's budget and the organization's mission that they need to have to be able to get support for the marketing work. Increasing your organization's reach and revenue. So that's really what it's all about. Your reach, your brand awareness. These are things I think everybody knows. That's why why most people, I think, are aware of the need to have a plan. It also helps you to use the content that you already have to get found by people who are ready to engage with you and your mission. It's going to help you create momentum and stability with your marketing strategy, so it doesn't flag, and it has a nice pace and rhythm throughout the year. So it reduces stress on staff, and then finally, creating that sense of delight and alignment across your organization's internal stakeholders. People who are working in different departments and teams, and maybe on the board. So these are all good reasons that you're here doing what you're doing. So I want to start with a quote to kind of inspire you for the work ahead. So rowing harder doesn't help if the boat is headed in the wrong direction. We work so hard in the nonprofit sector. People are rewarded for the amount of effort that they put in sometimes. And what's more important is really making sure that that boat is pointed in the right direction before you put in the effort. So good for you for setting aside some time to get that direction straightened out. So what we know is that high digital maturity at a nonprofit is twice as likely. People at an organization that have digital maturity are twice as likely to say that revenue from their foundation supporters increased during the pandemic. So let's sit with that just for a second. So organizations that have digital maturity, they have a lot of online communications assets. Those organizations said twice as often that they were likely to have had, that they had increased support from their foundation supporters during the pandemic. So these are some good data points to bring out if you need to invest resources in your marketing plan. Okay, so digital maturity, it's your ability to use data to inform your decision makers and reach new audiences and do all of the things that we're seeing here on this slide. If you're an organization that has those things in place, you're more likely to benefit from foundation funding. And these are all things that are created when you have a marketing plan in place. I also want to quote a friend of ours at the Anti-Cruelty Society, Jennifer Goodsmith, who is the CEO there. She said that her organization was up fundraising 26% over 2 years ago. She said this at a conference that we were just at a few months ago. And she said that didn't happen because of PR. It was because of their marketing plan and implementing that marketing plan. So a little bit of anecdotal evidence along with some puppies and kittens. So as nonprofits were forming their plans and their budgets for the year 2021 in anticipation of this world economy reopening, over half of the respondents of this survey did not have a formal digital marketing plan. So there's definitely a need. And if you don't feel like you have a great marketing plan in place, you're definitely not alone. So there's some rationale for investing in your marketing plan. Now we're going to take a look at the process that we use to help organizations create a plan and how you can get started. So the first step, of creating the type of nonprofit marketing plan that's going to help you increase your revenue is establishing goals. And I'm going to give you a framework and some tools for creating marketing goals for your organization. This is what we call the marketing goals crosswalk. This is a tool that we start out with every single time we make a marketing plan. Every time. We never skip this. And the reason is that we found that, when we didn't use this in the past, organizations would invest in marketing activities. And then, they'd get questions about whether they were effective. They'd get questions about whether, they actually advance the organization goals. These kinds of questions came up and they didn't really have the answers. And the reason was that marketing was really siloed from the organization's mission. That probably resonates with a number of you here on the webinar. So we have a process here that you can use to bring those things into alignment. We'll talk about what it is, how you do it, why you do it, and spend a little bit of time there. So the overall framework is here on the horizontal axis, we see organizational objectives. On the vertical, we see marketing goals. And then sales and marketing alignment is where the two come together. I'm going to pause here and explain why I'm using the word sales, even though we are all nonprofit marketers. Some of you you may have an organizational objective around membership, right? You might be an association, building membership. You might be a donation-driven advocacy nonprofit that's really working to get public dollars, donations to your cause. You might be selling seats at your training. So sales is just a word that we're going to use to group all of those different revenue sources together. The crosswalk aligns your budget, your mission, and your goals, aligns stakeholders, builds a marketing plan, enables you to prove ROI. So that's why we're doing this. So for this little section, we're going to talk about understanding your organization's objectives for the coming year. I'm going to dive right into that piece without really talking about this mini agenda because we don't have a lot of time today. So we're going to start, and this is part of the deck that you have, and the deck is structured this way so that it's kind of a workbook for you to use after the workshop is over. By all means, if you can start answering these questions right now during the webinar, jot them down. It's going to give you a head start. The way that this is designed to be used is this slide is for one organizational objective for your nonprofit. So typically this is going to come from, ultimately your budget for the year. What are the budget lines for training? What are the budget lines for donations, for membership? Each one of those is going to have a separate objective. It's there somewhere at your organization. If you're an executive, you probably know what it is. If you're someone who works on the budget across the organization, you know what those numbers are. You want to have a different slide for each one of those concrete, numbers-driven objectives for the organization. If you don't have those, if you're somebody who's more in a marketing role and you feel like, wait a minute, this is the problem. The problem is I don't have this information. I'm just off, I just get told to send out the emails. Well, in that case, fill in a soft goal here in this yellow box and write down who it is at your organization that you can go to get that information. Because we're trying to break down barriers here and really equip the marketing team with the same information that the executive team has, that the development team has, about what it is that we're really trying to achieve. Not in terms of your big picture mission, but in terms of each revenue generating activity. What's the goal for that this year? Make one of those for each one. And then the next step is, again, for each one of those, look at what the consequences and implications are of meeting or not meeting that goal. If we do achieve our goals, we're going to be able to serve 500 more participants next year. We're going to be able to hire that marketing coordinator, some of those positive things. And then what if we don't achieve our goals? Well, we might lose a staff person. We might need to reduce our services, by 10%. Really try to unearth those concrete consequences and implications because they help create that shared sense of motivation between the organizational goals and the marketing goals. The next step to doing this crosswork step is analyzing the current activities that you're engaged with when it comes to marketing. Some common examples are here: email marketing. Are you publishing content on your website? Do you have a blog that goes out every week or once a month or a couple times a year? Social media, are you actually posting and engaging, or are your accounts kind of dormant and need a lot of work? You doing some advertising? Is it Google AdWords, Google Ad Grants, social media advertising? Are you regularly updating your website with information, on your events? Really, everything. Get it all. Write it all down. So this is something you might be able to fill in right now. Probably want to come back to and make sure that it's complete later. And then the next step is you're going to take those activities and figure out what your current spend is to be able to do that level of marketing. What is it that you're investing? So vendors and contractors, these are some of the standard items that we see organizations spending on when it comes to marketing, but you might have other things. If you're doing a lot of direct mail, postage, you're going to want postage on there, printing. It's going to depend on how your organization is approaching marketing right now. But it is important to understand what you're investing, and you'll see why a little bit later. This gets into really showing that you're contributing, that the marketing is contributing to revenue and actually is generating revenue. And then the next step is determining current results. So as we take this approach to create a marketing plan that's going to really help generate revenue, and we're going to be able to show that, we need to understand how the marketing is performing right now. You may have seen a lot of different tools for gauging the effectiveness of your marketing efforts, but this is a really nice basic tool matrix to use to track some of your top level metrics. Okay. It's all part of a process that you're going to see becoming clear as we step through it. Traffic, you know, most organizations, someone at the organization is going to have access to your website traffic. If it's not you, write down who that is. Because if you're doing this process, it's important that these are the things that you should know. How much traffic is your site getting? How many leads? We're calling them leads here. Sometimes we call them contacts. What this number is how many contacts are coming in through your website, through the forms on your website, new contacts, new people that you can communicate with. Excuse me. And that's on a monthly basis, both traffic and leads. You can calculate those. I would recommend calculating those by adding up the past year, dividing by 12 to get your monthly average. If you're looking at, hey, with the pandemic, things are sort of returning to some of their previous patterns, but not really. You could do a blend of like a pre-pandemic year and a post-pandemic year to get a sense of what your current performance might be like. In some cases, though, you're going to want to just understand how things are in the new normal. Forget about the past. If it really seems like you need to be able to start from where you are right now, and we have clients that really need to do that because things just aren't going to go back to the way they were. Definitely take, a pretty recent sample to get to that number of leads per month, but you do need to be able to adjust that for seasonal changes, like if you're having a conference. So it's going to vary how you determine these metrics, but it's important that you have them. I'm going to talk about and show you a tool for calculating some of these conversion rates. For some of you, it's going to be like really basic science. For others of you, it might be new. So I'll try not to go too deep or too shallow. You do need to know how many customers per month. And this is a number that's going to depend on which organizational objective you're dealing with. So again, you'll want a separate copy of this for each one of those organizational objectives. So for your conference, if that's a whole organizational objective is getting, 10,000 attendees for your digital conference, how many did you get last time? That number is going to go here. Okay. I think that's pretty, we went into a little bit more depth there, but we'll be moving a little bit faster through some of the other steps. From that information, the next step in the process that we use to create game plans is calculating a SMART goal. A SMART goal is, as we can see here, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. These are some examples of marketing goal targets. We list these because, again, for marketers, they certainly don't seem like rocket science. But for a lot of people, there's that, really not a solid understanding across the organization of what a marketing goal target is. A marketing goal target is not, I'll give you some examples of what it's not. It's not, get 5,000 attendees at our conference. It's not increase donations by 50%. A marketing goal target is increase blog subscribers, increase email list contacts, boost our open rate on our emails. These are marketing goals. So if you're someone who maybe is in I think this could be especially helpful actually to those of you who are in a different area of the organization, not directly on the marketing team, because these are the kinds of goals that you should be expecting from your marketing team and supporting them in creating and pursuing, because it's like that, it's this, think of it as a continuum, okay? We could look back here. you can sort of map it out along the current results. Like you go from traffic to leads to customers. A customer goal is 5,000 conference attendees. You also need a marketing goal that's going to be between here and there to show that you're heading in the right direction. Again, sorry if this is too basic for some of you, but these are the kind of the underpinnings for the process. And it's important to go through. We find it's been really important to, take these early steps before you start planning out what the activities are going to be. Those are some examples of marketing goal targets. Now, here's a visual breakdown, and I'm probably not going to go through each number on this chart, but it's nice to have when you're working together to calculate conversion rates that are part of your SMART goal, your kind of suite of SMART goals. So here you have, how many customers you have. You got, right now, you got 5,000 conference attendees last year. How many leads came in through your website last year. How many visits there were, how many sessions there were on the website, or visitors actually for this calculation. You're going to want number of visitors. You're going to plug those in the slots that you see here for numerator and denominator, and it's going to walk you through how to calculate these conversion rates. So just kind of nice to have. This is an illustration of how we start this process of calculating SMART goals. We're going to start by knowing what's happening now. And then we're going to use a tool like this to take where we are now and start calculating a goal for improvement. Okay. There's a lot of math behind this spreadsheet that I'm not going to obviously go into, but we can see from the front end really how a sheet like this works. And we do this with all of our nonprofit clients, starting everything that you see here that's in white. That's going to be a box that you fill in. And then you've got everything else programmed to calculate automatically what the output is. So you're going to put in your current yearly data. And actually, we've updated this so that the goal, you're going to see the goal somewhere more over here that's kind of closer to your current, customer goal. But that's okay. So you plug in the current, and then you also plug in your current traffic and leads that you're getting every month. This organization is kind of starting from scratch, brand new website, just a few hundred visits per month. So what we know now, after we plug in the numbers in the white fields, over on this side, the left side, is kind of where things are right now. These first three columns, this is where we are right now. If we only got, 12, say we're doing consulting, to kind of, we got 12 new consulting clients. We do nonprofit consulting. We got 12 last year, just by doing our marketing. Okay. From our online marketing. It works out to 1 a month. This is the amount of traffic we had, and this is how many leads we had per month. So it turns out these are the conversion rates that we're starting with. Now, if we change right here, what our goal is for customers, we're going to see those, the traffic, the leads, and the conversion rates change. So this is kind of, okay, this is what we're able to do right now with our current efforts and the current resources we're putting in. And this is what we need to do in order to meet that goal. A sheet like this is kind of where the rubber meets the road. When you're trying to align the organizational objectives, we need more conference attendees, we need more consulting clients with marketing. This is really where you can see it, I think, most clearly, at least to begin with. What you can do then is, okay, this is what you'd need to get this organization if we kept the same conversion rates, same number of visitors filling out a form on the website, same number of those people becoming a consulting client. We'd actually need to increase our traffic to 1,168 visits or sessions per month. And we need to be getting 28 leads a month. So that sometimes can seem pretty, intimidating, or maybe the organization, for whatever reason, doesn't think that's going to be the best approach. Hey, let's just increase traffic. Well, we'd have to, rapidly increase traffic to meet that goal. We'd have to invest in some PPC. We'd have to have more content on our website. It's going to take some time to build that. Well, what if we focused instead on making a dent in that conversion rate? And I'm getting ahead here. I tend to do that. As we go through the presentation, we're going to slowly walk through some of these ideas, but it's helpful to see, looking at a real example, what kind of what kind of intelligence you can take away from some of these numbers together. What if instead we were able to increase the number of visitors to our website who filled out a form? So visitors to leads, if we just inch that conversion rate up to 2.75% by adding a pop-up form upon exit intent to sign up for our e-newsletter, for example. We could get more leads that way, more people that we could then build a relationship with and nurture to a place where they want to become a consultant client or an attendee at our conference, et cetera, a member of our organization or a donor. Or what if, we could, what you see here in this example is actually the lead to customer rate went down. That's because in this case, we're realizing with this amount of traffic, those leads are not actually maybe the ones that are becoming our consulting clients. So maybe we need to manually, calibrate for that and say, actually, of the leads we're expecting to get in, we could probably expect to turn 5% of those folks into, conference attendees. So a couple different ways that you can start to use your data to set smart marketing goals. Okay. I'm going to move through some of these next slides because I think what I really want to do is focus on some marketing tactics that you can use to try to make progress toward some of these different SMART goals that you might have. There are some slides here on, here's some examples of actual SMART formulas for a SMART goal for your organization that are for marketing purposes. And then the resources that you're going to need. So you fill out this when you have a sense of kind of what activities you're going to need to change in your marketing plan. This is kind of the after. We did the budget that we're using right now. Well, how's that budget going to need to change based on the activities that we're going to need? Is there anything that we can redeploy from the old budget that we're not really going to need anymore? The one thing I want to say specifically about planning a new budget for new marketing activity is to really look at marketing and sales automation. A marketing automation platform is an absolute necessity in today's nonprofit marketing world. You need something, whether it's HubSpot or Pardot or some marketing automation software, because the kinds of results that we're looking to be able to achieve, to reach those organizational objectives, especially in many cases, really an environment that's really heavy on online activity. It's become more important than ever. Okay, ideal personas. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but this is where when we work with organizations, we do some initial, do that crosswalk to kind of get all the data down, figure out what direction we need to go in and what specific levers we can use to get that, improvement in marketing that's going to lead to revenue. Then very next step is building ideal personas. These are fictional representations of the people that you want to bring in to meet that objective. We have a template for how to do this on our website, a nonprofit personas template under our resources section that you can download. But basically, the one thing I want to say about personas when you're building them, goals and challenges, that's really what it's all about. We need demographics so that we know how many different personas, to create. But really it's about what are the people that you're trying to sell, whether it's, getting them to donate, so you're selling them on your mission, or getting them to become members. So you're selling them on the value of membership. Before you even think about that, what do they want? The personas are the tool that really forces that conversation and really gets the organization. It can unify all teams on the organization so that we're all talking to the same person and really listening to the same person. So that persona's goals and challenges. How many personas should you have? When you look at, when you start talking about the different personas, do they have a different set of goals than the other one? Do they have a different set of challenges? If they do, that's really your clue that you're going to want to develop two personas. Because when you start developing content, you're going to see that, we really need different types of content to help, this persona meet their goals. They're dealing with a whole different set of challenges. So personas are a really important foundation for the marketing plan. And then we get into mapping activities. This is where we look at, we know, what our objectives are. We know what our marketing SMART goals are. Let's map out activities and plan activities that are specifically going to support those marketing goals and answer the challenges and goals of our personas. So we use the inbound marketing methodology to create our marketing plans. This is a description of what the inbound marketing methodology really is: putting humans first, attraction rather than promotion, solving our audience's challenges and helping them meet their goals. It's visually represented by this flywheel, the inbound marketing flywheel. I love it because it's, the idea of a flywheel is that it operates on its own momentum. You feed it to get it started. And then as it spins, it fuels itself with that momentum. So we've got turning strangers into prospects, into supporters, into promoters, and that maps out to the inbound methodology of attract, engage, delight. And then more of the same. Here we have a really great breakdown as you start thinking about the specific types of activities you're going to put into your game plan. Why do you do certain types of activities and not others? Okay, so attract visitors. Let's say your marketing SMART goal was increase traffic by 50%. By looking at the numbers, you need more people to come to your website and more of the right people, right? You do that, by publishing the right kind of content. Well, you want to focus on content. You want to focus on activities that are going to attract visitors. And those kinds of activities would be publishing content, SEO content on your website. We'll look at some good examples of types of content. So lots of different examples of different types of marketing, but this is basically our schema of how and why we're planning different types of content. Email marketing falls under a couple of different parts of the inbound marketing methodology, because you're going to offer people a subscription to your e-newsletter. Well, that's going to be, turning people from visitors to leads, getting people from attract to engage. But then once you have that way to communicate with people, you're going to start delighting them. So, definitely use this as a tool to help prioritize which activities you're going to start with. Strategic activities, fall into these 6 different buckets or silos. And this is kind of our organizing method when we make a game plan. What are we going to do in these 6 different areas? So, and this is how we help people, I think, understand what and lead that discussion about what the activities are going to look like. It's all about creating content that speaks uniquely to your audience in the different stages of the journey that they're in with your organization and in solving their challenges and meeting their goals. Here's a nice long list of types of online content. And then as we go through, you're going to see, when we go back a second, how do these fit in with the buyer's journey, with the journey of the personas that you are working to reach? What types of content should you be publishing at each step? And we have some, some background on specific types of content. I'm not going to sit here and explain to you what each and every type of content is. I'm going to pick a few that I have found people don't know about. Okay. So pillar page, sometimes called a microsite. This is one long authoritative page that goes into depth and length on a topic. And there are SEO reasons to do this. It's not just a nice thing to do. Google likes it. And because of changing algorithms on Google, this is an incredibly important asset for each and every organization to have. And we can help create these. This is, it's not just about writing the content, it's about having all the elements in place that are going to get you found and boost your your search rankings. So the way that this all kind of fits together, you've got a pillar page in the middle that's a long authoritative page, and on the outside you've got smaller pieces of content that link in. Those links tell Google this is valuable content. Moreover, people visiting your website and the ways that you're building traffic, also other ways that you're building traffic, also obviously tell Google that it's valuable content. But it's important to structure your content this way. We've seen lots of organizations that have a pretty pretty big mess to clean up when it comes to mapping out your content, and having this simple methodology is really a really nice way to get started. Okay, what are our main topics? We're going to organize them into pillar pages with topic clusters around them that link in. Premium content, another important type of content to have, because this is all about landing pages to convert visitors to leads. Okay, so we could do a whole workshop on conversion with content. And one of the biggest sources of conflict that we find at organizations is different opinions on whether things should be gated. It's not a simple conflict to resolve. And that's because there's a lot of education that has to happen before people understand the purpose of something like this. And I think, taking the time to do a game planning process like we've laid out, by the time you get here, people tend to understand a little bit more. Oh, I need a landing page, but I also, where I'm going to have this content gated because people will give me their email address in exchange for this information. They want it. And, we have different types of information we're going to ask for based on where they are in the buyer's journey. It's not always going to be a big, long form. But beyond that, we've also got our content out there free for anyone to find. Okay, it's all there. It's just packaged in different ways across the website. So let's, before we get into questions and answers, I do want to draw your attention to the content mission statement and encourage you after the workshop to go in and fill this out together as a team at your organization. Because this is, to kind of wrap up this part of the workshop, all the stuff we were just talking about, there were a lot of numbers, and a lot of talk about how to crunch the numbers to create a rationale for your marketing effort. But this piece is really more about the intent, and it brings you back to your roots as an organization. You fill in your mission. Our mission is to provide care to every animal in need across the state of Ohio. But when it comes to our content strategy, it's not about doing that. It's about the idea that everyone should know how to be a great pet parent. This is the thing that gives you the permission and the rationale to make your content strategy as wide as it needs to be, to really be able to appeal to all of the personas who might be interested in your work, because that's what it's going to take to increase your traffic and increase your brand awareness. Having that broad palette of content that you're publishing that's about your unique, that's written from your unique mission perspective, but is broad enough to bring in that wide body of supporters. So me just get to a couple of other tools just to let you know they're here. Content mapping. I promised you a way to be able to understand what types of content. You need to have content across these different broad buckets of content so that you can be there for people when they're just learning about an issue, they're just researching an issue that your work relates to they're really digging into research. They understand that there's an issue that they want to do something about. I think there's a solution out there. This organization's doing good work. I'm going to support them, or I'm going to sign up for their training. This is where you find the different types of content. You want to make sure you have some of each on your website and they're connected from one to the next. So you're pulling people into that flywheel. Okay, a couple other tools here that you can see that would be useful. This is filled out for an example, just a sample organization, how you might plan different types of content for that whole set of life cycle stages. So here's a nice example, and you can do something similar. I would recommend that you download the Ultimate Guide to Nonprofit Content Marketing. It's going to take a lot of what you've seen here and give it to you in kind of a portable format. You can just go to our website. The link is right there. And also, what I like about it is, it's a little bit meta, but it's an example of the things that we've been talking about. This is a pillar page. You can see how we're using pillar pages in our marketing strategy, and how we also have a landing page for the same content. We have blogs that feed into that pillar page. So there's some more content here on email marketing, social media, and how to, what the unique purposes are of these different activities in your marketing plan. That's what I would take away from this. There are specific purposes for each one of these activities, and they're going to feed in numerically. I think we talked about how they fit in with impacting specific metrics. But they also, have some differences in terms of just the nature of what you're trying to achieve. And you can see some good examples here. And then finally, analyzing. What we really emphasize with organizations is every month having that reporting session. And what's so cool is once you have the SMART goals and you know where you're trying to go, it's very easy and straightforward to do reporting. I mean, your report could be 2 slides, it could be like, here's where we are. We're trying to increase traffic by 25% over a 12-month period. As of now, we've increased it 5%. And here are a few more slides that show what we did to get there and how those activities impacted that metric. Done. I highly recommend that a group of people from your organization sees that report, every month and has a chance to talk about it. And then there's a section here about ROI that kind of summarizes and gives you some inspiration for demonstrating return on investment. We call it sales and marketing alignment, but again, sales is anything that brings in revenue. So the way to achieve goals is to take one step at a time. When you have a plan, you know what those steps are. And then finally, I'm going to leave this slide up there because if you have questions that we don't get to in the Q&A, you are welcome to contact me and set up a consultation. But I know we do have 10 minutes, so we could take questions.
All right, awesome, Jackie. Yeah, we probably got about 9 or 10 minutes for questions. But first, thanks for doing this, Jackie. There's a lot of really good stuff in here. I loved all the templates you shared too. So thank you. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I did. Yeah, we got some time, and there are some good questions in here already. But if you have not asked a question, do so now, because obviously we've got an expert here willing to take your questions. This first one I saw, Jackie, that kind of caught my eye. There's might be some folks on here listening that have a lot of different types of constituencies, like beyond donors. Maybe they have members, volunteers, ticket buyers. Would you recommend doing multiple versions of the plan for each group, or would you sort of layer in those types within the one marketing plan, or is there not, a right or wrong answer necessarily? What do you think?
Absolutely. I would definitely recommend, calling each one of those an organizational objective. So if you go back to the beginning and you're using this deck as a tool, make a different slide for each one of those. Absolutely. It says right there, copy this. That's exactly when you should do that. So great. Yeah, great question.
I love it. Here's one I really like. How do you do this when maybe the leaders don't understand marketing or value it, right? I'm sure you've run into this in your experience here. Do you just kind of do it without them and show them, or should you try to really get the buy-in ahead of time, or is it a mix? What do you think?
This process is all about getting alignment among those different stakeholders. So in our experience, there's a certain amount you can do without them, but eventually you're going to hit key roadblocks. And it's much better if you can get people, they don't have to be fully on board, let's be honest. They've got their own jobs, their own priorities. But I would say if there's one thing you were going to do to help with that, two things. One, show them that you or make them aware somehow that you are building your marketing plan based on what they're giving you. Okay. And those are those organizational objectives. Ask them for how much would you like us to grow membership? They've probably already told you that.
Hmm.
But then show them, show them on a one-page, clean, clear format. This is the goal for the organization here, and this is the marketing goal that supports that. Simple equation showing how we backed our goals out of yours. Second thing is to include them in the reporting, make them a special top line report to show them, not just your progress, but how it's feeding into their progress. There's a lot to unpack when it comes to those kinds of differences. And that's something I am more than willing to talk through with organizations. We do it all the time as part of our work. Yeah.
What about when I really liked what you said about the goals early on, how sometimes the goals that are set aren't really, the best, goals that you can put forward. What if you find yourself where maybe there's a marketing plan or there's some desire to do this and the goals that the team or your boss has in mind don't fit that ideal build that you explained there? How would you kind of navigate that question of maybe, I don't know, suggesting changes or edits to the goals that are in place, or maybe adding other ones in addition to those? What would you do in that situation?
That happens a lot, because when we start the conversation, a lot of times people are coming to the table and saying, you ask them, okay, what's your organizational objective? And they say, increase traffic by 50%. So that's where we sit down and we show them the initial slides here. That's a marketing goal. That's great. To have a goal is great, but I guess it's about asking questions. Where did that come from? Show me. And then it's not bad that, it's not like a punitive kind of question, like, prove it to me. It's like, no, really, I want to know where you got that from. Because usually there's a kernel in there that's like, well, we were told we needed to, get more people at the conference. Oh, okay. Well, how many are you supposed to get? What's the hard number? Okay. Well, how many have you? Usually the gap is it's not in not knowing how many people we need to get at the conference. It's in knowing how many we've gotten before and how marketing contributed or didn't contribute to it. Looking at those things next to each other, and then, okay, we're going to build an increased conversion rate here, and that's going to be our goal. I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over here again. I don't want to be a broken record, but I guess, it's just different. In different scenarios, you're going to need to be presenting it differently, because there are a lot of different partners involved in this.
That's okay. It's good to reiterate the core concepts, right? And I've really liked your approach of asking questions like, hey, where these come from? Like that always seems like a productive way to have a conversation rather than like, hey, these goals kind of stink. Like, let's do something else. It's always better to ask the question.
True.
Jackie, we've got a lot of small shops listening. Love you, small shops.
Yeah.
What are kind of the pros and cons of, okay, you want to do this, but maybe you're a one-person shop, you're just an ED or a founder, or maybe it's 2 or 3 people, but there's no marketing person in place. Well, how
Mm.
do you know when it's time for maybe like a full-time marketing employee versus, working with somebody like you or a consultant or a mixture of both? What have you seen work there when there isn't that dedicated marketing kind of owner in place?
Yeah, a lot of the clients that we work with, there's kind of a variety of different configurations that people have when they work with us. Sometimes we're working with an executive director and we are the marketing team. Usually in that case, that's an executive director who might have a marketing background, kind of need that. I think where it's helpful, what's helpful when you're working with an external team like ours is to know that you're going to need to be, meeting with us, or b having some type of marketing function that can liaise with your external team. That said, we're the way that we are used to working is being the marketing team for the organization. And if it's an executive director, as long as you I would say the most important thing is to set aside that reporting time to be there to listen and ask questions, um, to be available during the first couple of months of engagement a little bit more than throughout the whole thing, because we're going to be using you as a source for the marketing game plan. And then on an ongoing basis, we've got a process where we can really efficiently get your subject matter expertise from you, um, with some tools that we have. So that question is something that we are, answering every day with every client. I feel like we've landed on a pretty good way of making it easy, you know, because if you don't have the time to do the marketing, you often don't have the time to do the supervision, so
Mhm.
we provide most of that. Yeah.
So there isn't necessarily like a point where, okay, we're big enough now to hire a marketing person. It doesn't seem like there's like,
Mm,
oh, we're 250K in revenue. Now we got to like, is, what do you think? I mean, is there a point in
mm,
which it seems like there can be really big successful organizations that always use outsourced help, but what do you
mhm,
think?
mhm. Um, some of the organizations that we work with are really small, 3 people. Some of the organizations we work with are, staff of 50, and it's just different use cases, I would say, you know. Um, I guess I'm agreeing with you. There's no one thing that you can look at and say, I need to hire a firm. I think when you do, you take the initial steps to make a plan, and you find that you don't have the capacity to carry it out, but that if you do, this is the return you're going to get. Well, it's a matter of taking a portion of that and filling that out on your sheet as, okay, this is what we're going to have to spend on a partner to get this done, and then it's really clear what the ROI is, because without it, we're not going to have the revenue coming in.
That makes sense. I always feel bad when somebody says, oh, we're too small to have a
Oh yeah.
marketing person or engage with. Like, no, you're not. You're awesome. You can do it
Oh
because the
yeah.
big guys need help too sometimes.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Dang, this was fun, Jackie. We got about a minute left. I want to give you the last word for telling people how to get a hold of you. What's the best way? You got this very generous consultation there. How can they do that?
Yeah. Well, you can email me at jackie@yodelpop.com. You can, let's see if I can go back here. Yeah. Or you can visit this page, yodelpop.com/consultation. And there's a form there, and you just fill it out and we can have a free consultation.
Good, perfect, very generous offer. And I know I didn't get to all the questions, so if we didn't get to your question, one, I apologize, but two, maybe take Jackie up on this. We will be sending the slides and the recording later on today, so don't worry, we'll get those in your hands. You'll be able to see all those resources, and hopefully keep the conversation going with Jackie if it makes sense to you. So thank you for doing this, Jackie. This was a lot of
Oh
fun.
my gosh, Stephen, thank you so much for having me. And thank you everyone for participating. It was great to see all the activity. So
Yeah,
I have the opportunity to talk with many of you again.
I always appreciate a full room, especially people who chat in. So thanks again for doing that. We got a cool webinar coming up next week. We're going to talk about LinkedIn. If you are someone that maybe isn't using LinkedIn perhaps to its fullest extent, if you're in a leadership role specifically, this is going to be a fun session. I think it's kind of an underutilized channel for all kinds of things, corporate relationships, donor relationships. We haven't really covered this one in our webinar series history. So I'm excited to kind of fill in that gap. Also, a nice dovetail. We got kind of a marketing theme going in March, in case you hadn't noticed that. So we're going to keep that train running. So if you're free, same time, same place next week, 3 p.m. Next Thursday. If you can't make it, register anyway, because then you'll get the recording right to your inbox right after we conclude. And you won't take up anybody's spot if you register, so no worries there. Speaking of, again, we're going to send everything out later today, so be on the lookout. And hopefully we will see you again next Thursday. So have a good rest of your Thursday. Have a good weekend. Stay safe, stay warm, stay healthy. We need all of you out there doing all that great work. And hopefully we will see you again next week. Bye now.